Alex Eala reaches new heights as she cracks the world top 40 for the first time in her career. The Filipino tennis star rises to number 40 in the latest WTA ranking. Alex Eala finally cracks the world top 50 in the latest WTA rankings. The Filipina tennis ace climbed one spot from number 51 last week for a new career.
What is up, Champions Tennisitics family? Welcome back to the channel that never sleeps, never misses, and never, ever lets you miss a single seismic moment in the world of tennis. You already know the drill. If something massive just happened in the tennis universe, this is the place where you hear about it first, you hear about it loud, and you hear about it in full, glorious, unfiltered detail. So buckle up, because what we are about to unpack today is not just a tennis story. This is a civilizational event. This is the kind of moment that gets written about in history books. This is the kind of story that parents are going to tell their children years from now.
Alex Eala just shocked the tennis world. The young Filipina sensation took down two of the biggest names in the game. First, she faced world-class powerhouse.
And those children are going to look up with wide eyes and say, "You were actually alive when this happened?" Yes, we were. And today, Champions Tennisitics is going to make absolutely sure that you understand the full, staggering, breathtaking weight of what Alexandra Alex Eala has just achieved, and why the entire global sports establishment is sitting down, shook to its core, and completely rethinking everything it thought it knew about where tennis superstars come from. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Eala, 20 years old, born in Quezon City, Philippines, the girl who packed her bags and flew to Mallorca as a teenager to chase an impossible dream at the Rafael Nadal Academy.
Rare footage of a young Alex Eala. It is not just an overnight success. She really trained hard since she was a kid. While Alex highly credits her family for their support, it seems that tennis
has just been recognized as one of the most influential people in global sports. Time magazine, the publication that has shaped the conversation about global power and influence for over 100 years, has trained its massive, unflinching spotlight directly on this young Filipina and said, "The world needs to pay attention." And if you think for one single second that the tennis establishment was ready for this moment, I am here to tell you that they absolutely, categorically were not. The gatekeepers of this sport, the ones who quietly assumed for decades that elite, globe-shaking, culture-defining tennis superstars only emerged from Europe and North America, are having a very uncomfortable week. Because standing in the middle of their perfectly curated world, smashing forehands from the baseline and selling out stadiums from Dubai to California, is a girl from Manila who decided that nobody else gets to determine the ceiling on her ambitions. Let's set the stage properly here, because the numbers alone tell a story so wild it almost sounds fictional. Cast your mind back just 12 months ago. This time last year, Alex Eala was ranked 140th in the world.
Eala entered the Miami Open as a wild card, ranked 140th by the Women's Tennis Association, but her impressive performance included victories over several higher-ranked
140. She was walking into the 2025 Miami Open qualifying draw as a nobody to the general public, a promising prospect, sure, but invisible to the casual fan. And then something happened in Florida that rewrote the entire script. She won match after match after match. She dismantled Grand Slam champions. She defeated players ranked 130 places above her. She played through pressure that would have crumbled most seasoned professionals. And before the tennis world had even processed what was happening, Alexandra Eala was standing in the semifinals of a WTA 1000 tournament, the first Filipina in history to do so. Let that sink in. In the entire history of professional tennis in the Open era, no Filipino woman had ever gone that deep in a tournament of that magnitude. She didn't just break the glass ceiling. She took a running start, leaped through it, and landed in a completely different stratosphere. And the thing that made that Miami 2025 run so electric, so addictive to watch, was not just the wins. It was the way she won. It was the grit, the defiance, the absolute refusal to be overwhelmed by the moment. And the Filipino fans. Oh, the Filipino fans. The scenes from those matches have to be seen to be believed. There is something that happens when Alex Eala walks onto a court and thousands of her compatriots are in the stands. The air changes. The temperature rises. There is a collective electricity, a shared national heartbeat, that you simply cannot manufacture. Longtime Filipino sports journalists described it as the Manny Pacquiao effect, translated to the tennis court. When Pacquiao fought, the roads in the Philippines emptied. Businesses closed. The entire nation held its breath together. And now, for the first time since Pacquiao hung up his gloves, that phenomenon has a new face. And that face belongs to Alex Eala. That breakout in Miami 2025 was just the ignition. What followed was a sustained, relentless rocket climb that the WTA rankings computer has been struggling to keep up with. She cracked the top 100 for the first time coming out of Miami, then the top 50 in November, the top 40 in February of 2026, and then, on March 16th of this year, she hit world number 29, a career high and the highest ranking any Filipino player has ever achieved in WTA Tour history. Think about that. Not just the highest-ranked Filipina in the history of the WTA, the highest any Filipino player, man or woman, has ever climbed in the professional tennis rankings. She is 20 years old. She hasn't even reached her peak yet. The analysts, the former champions on commentary, the coaches in the player boxes across the tour, they are all watching this trajectory and doing the same mental calculation. If she has come this far, this fast, where exactly does the ceiling end up? And the court performances backing up those ranking numbers have been absolutely jaw-dropping. Let's talk about 2026 specifically, because this season alone has been a masterclass in sustained elite-level tennis. She started her year in Auckland, reached the semifinals. She made her debut at the Australian Open, the biggest stage in January tennis. She played the inaugural WTA 125 Philippine Women's Open, a tournament that was created partly because of the tidal wave of interest she has generated in her home country, and the crowd scenes were something out of a dream. Then came the Middle East swing, and she announced herself in Dubai by dispatching world number 8 Jasmine Paolini of Italy in a stunning 6-1, 7-6 victory that had the Filipino fans packed inside the Aviation Club Tennis Center absolutely losing their minds. In the tiebreak of that second set, she later revealed that she glanced up and saw the stadium full of her compatriots cheering her on, and that image of a stadium full of Filipinos gave her the strength to close it out. That is not just athletic excellence. That is something deeper. That is a player drawing on the energy of an entire nation. Then she took that momentum to Indian Wells, one of the most prestigious events outside the 4 Grand Slams, and the stories coming out of California were unreal. On Tuesday of tournament week, hundreds of Filipino fans packed a tiny practice court in the Palm Springs heat just to watch her train. Hundreds of people standing in the blazing desert sun just to watch a practice session. On the courts immediately next to her were 2 of the biggest men's stars in the world, and between them, they attracted a handful of spectators. Alex Eala drew hundreds. The tournament's official social media was posting videos with her and racking up views that none of their other content could touch. The tournament's own executive came out and publicly said they love every minute of it, and they benefit enormously from the energy she brings. She was one of only 9 women the tournament selected to represent their entire class of 2026 on Instagram. Her, alongside 7 top 10 players and 1 well-known American star. That is the level of recognition she is commanding now, and she hasn't even won a Grand Slam yet. But here is where the story gets even richer, because it is not just about the tennis. It is about who Alex Eala is as a human being, and how she carries this extraordinary weight of national expectation. On International Women's Day during the Indian Wells tournament, after winning a match against Coco Gauff, who had to retire due to injury in the second set, Eala took the courtside microphone and didn't talk about her game or her ranking. She talked about women. She talked about the women who paved the way for her. She thanked Gauff specifically for being an amazing competitor and amazing role model. She wished her a speedy recovery. Standing in front of tens of thousands of people at one of the most prestigious tennis venues on the planet, she used her platform to lift others up. That is not a PR move. That is not a coached response. That is character. And it is the exact kind of character that resonates far beyond a sport, far beyond a scoreline, and far beyond a ranking number, which is precisely the kind of influence that Time magazine exists to spotlight and celebrate. The off-court dimension of this story is also something the tabloids simply cannot get enough of, and honestly, who can blame them? Because the commercial empire that is quietly building around Alex Eala is genuinely staggering for a player who, again, is just 20 years old. Nike didn't just sign her as a standard ambassador. They worked with Filipino artist Georgina Camus to create an Eala-inspired limited edition shirt that features the national flower of the Philippines layered over the grass courts of Wimbledon. That shirt is a statement. It says Southeast Asia belongs on the lawns of the All England Club. It says Filipino culture is not something you set aside when you arrive at the most prestigious tennis tournament in the world. It is something you wear proudly, openly, and beautifully. Then in February of this year, Milo, one of the most beloved and iconic brands in the entire Philippines, announced her as their brand ambassador. When Milo signs you, you are not just a sports star in the Philippines. You are a cultural institution. You are in the same conversation as the legends. You are on the walls of elementary school gymnasiums and in the dreams of children drinking their morning chocolate milk and thinking, maybe I could do something like that one day. The reach of her influence on the next generation is the part of this story that genuinely stops you in your tracks when you truly consider it. For decades, tennis in Southeast Asia was a sport where the best kids could dream of a solid national career, maybe a few ITF titles, maybe a wild card or two at the big events. The idea of being a genuine, sustained force in WTA 1000 tournaments, of being ranked in the top 30 in the world, of having Nike design signature gear for you, that was not a realistic dream. It was a fantasy, and Alex Eala has taken that fantasy and turned it into a roadmap. Right now, somewhere in the Philippines, there are little girls with tennis rackets who have rewritten their sense of what is possible. That is not hyperbole. That is how inspiration actually works. When you see someone who looks like you, who comes from where you come from, doing something that nobody from your world had ever done before, the ceiling doesn't just move. It disappears entirely. Now, let's be real for a second, because Champions Tennisitics keeps it fully honest, and the full picture here includes some complexity too. The 2026 Miami Open, the scene of her greatest triumph last year, served up a storyline that the tennis press has been absolutely dissecting. She came in ranked number 29, seeded 31st, carrying the enormous weight of 390 ranking points she needed to defend from her semifinal run in 2025. She won her first round against Laura Siegemund in a match that went 3 hours and 20 minutes, the longest match of her career at that point, showing the kind of physical and mental endurance that separates real professionals from everyone else. She then beat Magda Linette comfortably to reach the round of 16 for the third consecutive WTA 1000 event this season. But there she ran into Karolina Machova, the Czech Republic's world number 14, a player who had barely lost all year with a record of 16 wins and only 3 losses coming into the match, and the champion of the 2026 Qatar Open. And Machova, for all of Alex's fire and fight, proved to be too much on the day. The loss dropped Eala's ranking from number 29 down to around number 45 in the live tracker, with the points she couldn't defend evaporating from her total. The tabloids leapt on this immediately, as tabloids do, with breathless headlines about the Czech curse. Because when you look at Alex Eala's career record against Czech opponents, she is 0 wins and 13 losses. 13 matches, 0 wins. It is the one persistent puzzle she simply has not been able to solve, and the tennis world is watching with enormous fascination to see how and when that changes. But here is the thing that the more sensational coverage misses entirely. Losing to world number 14 Karolina Machova in the round of 16 at one of the biggest tournaments on the calendar is not a crisis. It is not a stumble. It is the reality of being a 20-year-old player still operating below her eventual ceiling, making consistent deep runs at the highest level, learning exactly what she needs to develop next. And she knows it. When she was asked about facing bigger, stronger players on tour, her answer was extraordinary in its self-awareness. She talked about how everything she does in training is designed to prepare for those players. She acknowledged she is still getting stronger, but she was unequivocal that power is not the only weapon in her arsenal, that she has angles, creativity, and layers to her game that most power hitters simply cannot replicate. That is not the answer of a player who has hit her ceiling. That is the answer of a player who is still building her house. Because the truth is, when you zoom out from any single tournament result and look at the full trajectory, what you see is something that the sport has almost never witnessed before. Since the start of 2025, Alex Eala has gone from outside the top 100 to the top 30. She has earned her first wins over multiple top 10 players. She has reached the semifinals of a WTA 1000 event, the quarterfinals of multiple other WTA 1000 and WTA 500 events, and accumulated enough prize money and ranking points to qualify for every major tournament on the calendar. She captured a WTA 125 title in Guadalajara. She won gold for the Philippines at the SEA Games. She made her Grand Slam main draw debut. She made her Wimbledon debut, with Nike gifting her a Sampa Guida blossom hair tie, the national flower of her country, to wear on the most sacred grass courts in all of tennis. Every single one of those bullet points is a first for a Filipino tennis player. She has spent the past 12 months essentially writing new chapters of Philippine sports history every time she walks onto a court. And here's what makes the time recognition so perfectly timed and so deeply meaningful. In the world of global sports media, there is always this uncomfortable dance around which athletes from which countries truly belong in the conversation with the very biggest names. The implicit bias in tennis has always been there. The assumption that the breakthrough stars come from Eastern Europe, from North America, from the established powerhouse nations. The industry was set up to amplify those stories first and foremost. And what the recognition of Alex Eala does, landing her name alongside the global titans, placing her in the company of athletes who have bent the entire arc of their respective sports, is simply refuse to participate in that bias. It says, Southeast Asia has a superstar. She is real. She is here. And you do not get to decide that she matters less because of where she is from. On the contrary, the fact that she has done all of this while carrying the hopes of over 100 million Filipinos, while being the first of her kind at every single milestone along the way, makes her story more remarkable, not less. The road ahead for Alex Eala is genuinely one of the most fascinating narratives in all of sports right now. The clay court season is coming. The French Open, Roland Garros, where she trained for years under the guidance of Rafa Nadal himself at the Academy in Mallorca. She has cited Wimbledon as her favorite Grand Slam, the venue she is most emotionally connected to. The grass courts in London feel like destiny for her. The experts have pinpointed her serve as the area of her game that is still developing, the one weapon that, when it reaches its full potential, could transform her from a consistent top 30 force into a genuine top 10 contender. And the work is already happening. Reports from early in the 2026 season noted marked improvement in her serve velocity and consistency compared to where she was in 2025. The development curve is still pointing sharply upward. The best version of Alex Eala has not yet arrived on tour, and the players who are currently ranked above her should probably lose some sleep over that fact. So as we stand here in the spring of 2026, watching history being made in real time, the question that every tennis fan on the planet is asking is the same one you are probably asking right now. How far can she go? The honest answer is that nobody knows, and the most exciting part is that nobody has ever been able to put a meaningful cap on it. Every prediction the skeptics have made has been obliterated. Every ceiling they drew has been smashed through. She was not supposed to survive the qualifying draw in Miami 2025. She was not supposed to beat Grand Slam champions. She was not supposed to crack the top 30 before her 21st birthday. And yet here we are. History keeps happening. The Philippines keeps erupting with joy, and the tennis world keeps being forced to confront the fact that it dramatically... The Eala ascent is not a chapter of the tennis story. It is the beginning of an entirely new book. And we, the Champions Tennisitics family, have front row seats to every single page. Now you know what I need from you, and I am going to need it in enormous, overwhelming numbers today, because a story this big deserves the biggest response this channel has ever seen. If you are watching Alex Eala's career unfold with the same jaw-dropping, goosebumps all over energy that we have, smash that like button right now until it glows red and stays that way. Drop a comment below. I want to know everything. Where are you watching from? Are you part of the incredible Filipino tennis community bringing this unbelievable energy to tournaments all over the world? Do you think she wins a Grand Slam title before she turns 25? Do you see a future world number one? Tell me your wildest, most audacious predictions for Alexandra Eala, because this channel thrives on bold calls, and this story demands them. And if you are not yet part of the Champions Tennisitics family, what on earth are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on every notification, because we cover this story the way it deserves to be covered. Deep, dramatic, and absolutely all in. Until next time, keep the energy high, keep the passion burning, and we will see you right back here for the next chapter of the greatest rise in tennis.
Eala is now top 50 in the world. She just reached a career-high WTA ranking of number 49, jumping 4 spots from her end of 2020.
The Philippine Senate has filed a resolution honoring Filipina tennis sensation Alex Eala or her remarkable semifinal run at the 2025 Miami Open.
Alex Eala just shocked the tennis world. The young Filipina sensation took down 2 of the biggest names in the game. First, she faced world-class powerhouse